Veterans dominate November. VDL headlines December. And Aussies become a member. I'm David Hood of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, and this is Deadline, DBN's monthly news program. Dateline November 2024 for our feature story. It's been several months, actually, since we heard hide or hair from that roving DBN reporter extraordinaire, Ed Sullivan. The fellow has been busy, though, so later in the program, we'll check in with him about his trip to Chicago for Weaselmoot, and we'll see firsthand by video which interview subjects, he was able to round up at that event. But first, a look at headlines from around the world of diplomacy. The latest edition of the diplomacy magazine called God Save the Zine was just released by its publisher, Stephen Agar. This UK-based publication features a lively letter column focusing on subjects such as music and culture, along with debate about British diplomacy hobby history. He also publishes a number of diplomacy variants and other games on monthly deadlines. In this issue 21, there are several interesting articles, including diplomacy-themed fiction and recollections from the 1999 World Email Diplomacy Tournament. Stephen also reprints 2 variants for readers to enjoy, including the famous Downfall of the Lord of the Rings version 13. Perhaps the highlight of the zine, though, is a report from the first ever Basque Country Diplomacy Championship, which was held on October 19th in Bilbao. 2 rounds were played, with Iguitz Campo taking the top seed overall, followed by Ivan Carballo. You can read all about this and the rest of this outstanding zine using the link below. Speaking of tournament results, there are plenty to report from events held since our last episode of Deadline. The first weekend in November saw events on 3 different continents. So let's start with the Australian Open, played in Canberra under the capable leadership of Jamal Blakarli. Surprising absolutely no one, veteran tournament attendee and 2-time DBNI victor Peter McNamara came out on top, edging second-place finisher Marcus Loane by 1 center as Austria on the top board. This capstone event of a very busy 2024 Australian hobby circuit was a major success by all accounts. The first ever Netherlands Diplomacy Championship took place in Groningen that same weekend. DBN personality Mikalis Kamaritis stole the title back to England with him. Local player Yanni Zwedinga came in second, with another Englishman, David Wigglesworth, taking third. First-time TD Jelta Kuiper put on a great event, the first of many to come, to be sure. We'll talk to Mikalis later in this program during the Winner's Circle segment. And finally, the long-running Carnage tournament in Vermont, run by David Maletsky, was won by longtime face-to-face veteran David Miller of Maryland, slipping past fellow Marylander Jason Bennett in second and Dave Smith coming in third. Links to our DBN coverage of all 3 of these events can be found below in the show notes in case you missed any of them live. The 2024 Virtual Diplomacy Championship, our hobby's world championship for virtual face-to-face play, will take place the weekend of January 10th through 12th, 2025, with the top board scheduled to take place the following weekend. Johnny Gillip and Justin Lohr are organizing this event, to be held as usual on the VWDC Discord server. There will be 6 preliminary rounds scheduled to be convenient for anyone around the globe who wishes to play some fun live virtual games of diplomacy. Your best 3 scores will count, but you may play in as many games as you like. The scoring system will be a modified version of World Classic scoring, and the games will end in either a unanimous draw vote, a solo, or after the fall 1910 adjudication. Draw votes will be private, and the number of votes will not be disclosed. As always, this tournament will adhere to the NADF Code of Conduct. Even if you've never played virtual face-to-face before, this event would be a good introduction to that mode of play. And of course, if you need some virtual experience in order to qualify for the DBNI Invitational coming up in February, this VDC is a great place to get it. The sign-up form can be found below in the show notes. In addition to that virtual event, several opportunities for face-to-face play in the global hobby are on the way. By the time you see this broadcast, the French National Championship in Paris will have already taken place. But in the UK hobby, there are face-to-face club games coming up in Warrington on November 30 and in London a week later on December 7th. In addition, the second running of Diplomacy at the SpireCon convention has been announced for February 7 through 9 in Chesterfield. Details on these British games can be found by using the links I've provided below. The North American circuit, the next face-to-face tournament is Cascadia in British Columbia, run by Chris Brand. This was the site of the 2024 North American Diplomacy Championship. Cascadia is scheduled for February 1st and 2nd in Surrey, with the registration form located below. The Australian hobby boasts regular face-to-face club play in Sydney, Melbourne, and Canberra. The best way to stay on top of happenings down under is to join the Australian Diplomacy Facebook page, so I've included a link to that as well. Time to check in on some of the online leagues out there for virtual face-to-face play. The Tour of Britain just completed its 2024 season with the 7th and 8th rounds of the tour played on November 16 and 17. Congratulations to His Royal Highness King Bradley I on a successful defense of his crown as the dust settled on that last round. Not only was he the runaway winner, he also took home, count them, 5 Best Country awards. Micah Bloom of the Netherlands was crowned this year's Princess of Wales, coming in second place. She also earned an impressive Best Russia with a 13-center finish in round 2. Justin Lohr was just behind in third place, with Tom Firkins taking that remaining Best Country award, which was England, with a mighty 17-center effort in round 4. Kudos to Gary Sturley for once again running a successful league, and of course, long live King Bradley, I guess. The other English language league offering, which is the Virtual Diplomacy League, plays its last games of the season on December 14, with 3 rounds scheduled at 3 a.m., 10 a.m., and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. The competition will be hot and heavy for the 7 available slots on the VDL top board scheduled for mid-January. You can find out more by visiting the VDL section of the DBN website. Every month, we like to report on the latest and greatest audio, video, or visual content from creators we call our DBN media partners. The host of Australia's Diplomacy Games podcast just released their latest edition, which is episode 132, featuring an interview with Max Rowe-Banks, the newly crowned Asia-Pacific Diplomacy Champion. You may remember that we interviewed Max last episode here on Deadline. Also on the podcast is an illuminating discussion with a number of hobbyists about the recent formation of the Asia-Pacific Diplomacy Association, which is a regional equivalent to the North American Diplomacy Federation. I've included the episode link from their website below. The DiploStrats channel on YouTube has been active recently as well, dropping a number of new videos since our last episode. The latest is a frenetic 4-hour extravaganza showing host Captain Meme playing 7 gunboat games at one time against the WebDip artificial intelligence, 1 game for each of the 7 great powers. You can watch Marcus do his one-stop gunboat tournament by following the link provided below. Years ago, hobbyists set up a wonderful depository of face-to-face results, which is called the World Diplomacy Database. We use it here on DBN to research players, and of course, many a diplomacy player has utilized it to size up their competition at a future con, as well as to go back and remember their exploits from the past. Thanks to unnamed hobby benefactors of the present, a new resource has now been launched, which features a more up-to-date interface and an easier navigation. This is called the World Diplomacy Reference and is linked below for your viewing pleasure. Our hobby is blessed with volunteer efforts of all kinds, from those who run tournaments and clubs and events to those who publish diplomacy zines, including the flagship Diplomacy World by Doug Kent, to those who create the video, audio, or visual content that we in DBN promote. On behalf of all of us at DBN, we salute not only the creators of this new World Diplomacy Reference, but all of those who give back to our hobby, a hobby that has given us all so much. As reported last episode, the Asia-Pacific Diplomacy Association was recently formed after an initial organizational meeting at the Asia-Pacific Diplomacy Championship. It's now been announced that membership in the APDA is open. It was formed to help promote and govern hobby activities in the Asia-Pacific region. Membership is currently free with an open invitation to all. This may change, possibly with a small fee being imposed later to help run operations. For now, interested parties should send an email to asiapacificdiplomacy@gmail.com with your full name, your main city or country of residence, and the words, "I wish to apply to become a member of the Asia-Pacific Diplomacy Association. I support the association's purposes and agree to comply with its rules." And by the way, Interim Secretary Jamal Blakarli has released some preliminary rules, which can be found using the link below. And now let's enjoy the latest installment of our continuing series of interviews with tournament winners. We call it the Winner's Circle. This month, we talk with Mikalis Kamaritis, fresh off his recent victory in the Netherlands Diplomacy Championship. Mikalis, welcome back to Deadline and congratulations on winning the inaugural Dutch Championship.
Thank you, David. It's been a while. Glad to be back.
Sure. All right. For those that are maybe new to DBN or new to Mikalis Kamaritis, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your history with the game of diplomacy.
Yeah, so I'm a couple months away from having officially played diplomacy for half of my life now. All the way back in 2010, I joined Web Diplomacy and played Extended Deadline on there for a number of years. Sort of dropped off a little bit before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened and virtual became a thing, which I was completely unaware of. And then I think at the end of 2020, a couple of old friends, Tanya and Marcus, got me to sign up for the VWDC that year. And from there, yeah, I've played quite a lot of diplomacy since then, and I've done much better in the virtual and the face-to-face than I ever did when I was playing Extended Deadline.
Well, you've had that success in face-to-face. You were the 2023 North American champion and all, so tell folks how different that experience is face-to-face when compared to your sort of longer experience in the online version of our hobby.
Yeah, so I think the biggest adjustment's obviously the time pressure. If you're coming from Extended Deadline straight to face, that can be quite tough. I was quite lucky in that I'd played a lot of Blitz games online in the past. So with the Blitz, which is the sort of 5-minute phases and full press. So you basically have 30 seconds to absorb what's happening on a board and then 4.5 minutes to type as furiously as possible to get people to work with you. And I actually felt that put me in a very good stead for when I later played face-to-face for the first time at Oxford, and then more recently virtual and face-to-face. I think the other main difference is obviously you can't necessarily see people's body language as much, but I don't think that's as a bigger differentiator as people seem to think it would be if they're coming from a face-to-face going in the opposite direction. I do think that particularly virtual and face-to-face, there is a lot of overlap in the skills you need to be successful at both.
Oh, yeah. I think that's totally right. All right. Well, let's dive. Well, actually, before we dive into the tournament itself, I want you to give us an idea of what it was like to travel to the Netherlands for this event, maybe some sense of your experiences away from the diplomacy boards.
Sure. So for various reasons, Bradley Gray scheduling it on my birthday, I didn't go to the UK Championship this year. So when Yelta was talking about NDC, I'm like, yeah, sure. That's at a time of year which I absolutely can go to. The key thing for me, though, was that I had to be back at my university by 9 a.m. on the Monday morning because I had a laboratory week doing genetics that I couldn't miss. Lectures on a Friday, I can catch up on those later. Labs, not so much. So I used the tiny little airport just outside of Hull, which flies to precisely 2 destinations, and one of them happens to be Amsterdam. So it's like, perfect. That means I can fly to Amsterdam and then get the train to Groningen in the northeast of the Netherlands. And it was the same thing back on the Sunday. So it was much more doable for me because that little airport actually had the flights that I needed. I was marveling at how good Dutch trains are compared to British trains. If any of our viewers have used British trains, they will not be surprised to learn that European trains are better than them, and the Dutch ones in particular were fantastic. The buses, well, I got slightly lost on those. I was an hour late to my first game on the Friday because I got on the right bus with the right number at the right place, just happened to be going in the wrong direction. It took me about 20 minutes to realize it was going in the wrong direction. I start looking around, seeing fields, and like this doesn't look like where I'm supposed to be going to. So I joined in as a sub for my first game, as Bernard Andrioli had very kindly offered to play for the first couple of years and then step out for when I finally got there. But aside from that, yeah, Groningen was a lovely city. It's really, really beautiful. Really nice architecture, some lovely clean streets, and a nice river or canal. Not sure which one it was, through the middle as well. Had a great time socializing with people on the Saturday night, and I believe they're running EDC there next year. So if you're not too sure, fantastic event. Yelta was a brilliant host. The social dinner on the Friday night was some gorgeous Lebanese food with meze platters that we all shared. Yeah, so come along, go for that.
For you Americans out there, people actually ride on trains. Just that's actually one of the takeaways I had from your. I mean, there are some Americans that do that. Most of us don't understand how that works. All right. I assume that you met some of these people before, but also assume that you'd met some of these players for the first time ever at this event. So give us your impression. I'm sure you'd played with some virtually or otherwise, but again, many probably not. So give us your general impression.
Yep. So I don't think I'd actually met anyone there before. There were some of them who were at WDC Oxford back in 2017 that I was also there, but it was my first face-to-face tournament. I didn't mix so much, and then I only remember a few certain people from that, and none of them said that they remembered me. So I don't think there was anyone that I knew in that regard. There were obviously people that I've known online for a number of years, though, like Tom DeGrief in particular. I've known from WebDip for 10 years. We've played a few diplomacy games together and a lot of Mafia games together. If any of our viewers have played Mafia on WebDip, you'll know what sort of chaos that gets up to. But it was always fun to play with Tom, and it was great to finally meet him in person. I enjoyed that a lot. And then there were people who I've known more recently through virtual. Yelta, who was just a fantastic host. Micah, Simon, Robert, obviously DBN Zone, and Isaac, both of whom helped me sandbox the games for the NDC stream belatedly. And yeah, Bradley, quite a few others, all of whom were, yeah, it was really nice to finally meet them in person. Got to play with most of them, not all of them. And yeah, it was a really nice tournament, and everyone was super friendly. Even the people that I'd never met before got on really well with everyone I played with. And yeah, I believe everyone had a great time, and hope so.
Sounds like a great time was had by all, and people should think about going to face-to-face tournaments. That's what it sounds to me like you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of them, they were coming to their like first or second ever face-to-face tournaments. Yelta had done really, really well getting outreach to people who've come in recently through Diplo strats, more medium and long-term people who've been around on VDL and 7 Years War and those leads for quite a while as well. Yeah, it was a really cool blend of people who've been playing for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 1 year, 1 month.
Cool. All right, let's talk about the tournament itself. Can you take us through your games and then explain how you hoodwinked these people into letting you win?
Yeah, so obviously I mentioned before I was an hour late to my first game, which I came in as Germany, who was under attack from England, France, and Russia. England had the lowlands, France had just been kicked back out of Ruhr, and Russia had taken all of Scandinavia and was poised to invade Prussia and Silesia on their next turn. So I looked at the board. I came in basically during the winter phase. The Germany player said, "But you might as well be the one who decides what disband we do here," because I was down to 4. So I looked at it, and I looked at England's position. I'm like, might go for Scandinavia, but they'll just attack me next. I looked at the Russian position. Was like, well, they're just going to attack me next. And I looked at the French position. Was like, France can grow without needing my dots. France can grow through England. So I went in about 30 seconds decision time, like, right, well, that's got to be my pitch. So I kept both the fleets on the board, pulled an army off, weakened my own position against Russia, but I knew that if I didn't get an ally, it didn't matter. And I did. It worked. I tapped Holland so that France could force Belgium and make their own attack. Liam, who has, I believe, played a couple of EDL games, 7 Years War. It was really cool to work with him. And we worked together for the rest of the game. His attack on England didn't work out that well. Russia and England, Russia just sort of gave England Scandinavia unnecessarily, which helped England defend against France. And I then outguessed Russia a few times and ended up ahead of Liam. So I topped that board from a pretty tough position when I came in. I was pretty proud of that one. The other side of the board, Micah, and I can't quite remember who was playing Turkey. I believe it was someone I'd never played with before, a Norwegian, if I remember rightly. There's quite a decent Norwegian contingent at NDC.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had an IT going, and then they sort of stabbed each other, and it didn't quite work out for them. So that was a 9 set to top in a 1907 game. It was quite good to get that sort of banked, especially given the sort of position when I came in. Round 2 was that was a big game. That was Bradley, who had also topped his first game, was playing in France. I was playing in Russia, and Robert was in Germany, and then a couple of other people, locals and such, were in the other positions. And there was sort of a Western triple which formed in the west, and an AIR which formed in the east. And the AIR, we killed Turkey pretty quickly. Meanwhile, Bradley stabbed the Western triple, stabbed England with Germany, and the two of them went to attack England right as England was kicking me out of the north, which was obviously brilliant timing for me. And yeah, that sort of gave me a lifeline, managed to stick with the AIR. At one point, I got quite far ahead, so I gave up a center and let them blow up my southern fleet just to balance us back out rather than force them to stab me. And it worked out in the end. We got the upper hand against Bradley and Robert, and it was quite funny. I charged everything into Robert, right, as Robert charged everything into me, but we did it in different ways. So he went on a full-on attack against Scandinavia, while I went on a full-on attack against Berlin and Kiel. So, like, my units came this way, and his units all went that way. And yeah, he ended up with Scandinavia, and I ended up with most of his home dots. So it sort of worked out in that way. And the final game, I knew I was in a very good position. I was the only person to have topped or lone topped both my first 2 games. There was a new player, Yoni, who I believe it was only like her 4th or 5th ever games, but she lone topped her first game and joint topped her second. So she was my closest challenger. Bradley was, I think, back in third, but quite a way back after how our second game had gone. So I was keeping an eye on Yoni's game, and I was Italy, delighted, always happy to play Italy. Didn't get anywhere with Austria. They didn't seem that keen to work with me. They really wanted an AR, which isn't great when you're Italy. So Simon in Turkey was very keen to do an IT, and I love an IT, so I'm like, well, this is a brilliant opportunity.
No, I've never heard you express any admiration for an Italo-Turkish alliance in any way.
Yeah. So the two of us sort of got together, and Germany gave me a big upper hand for the attack against Austria. They gave me a key support into Tyrolia, because up until then, Austria had just been self-bouncing to stop me going for the attack. And yeah, from there, we sort of just rolled it. Simon was after best Turkey, and Turkey hadn't that great, so he could get it. We didn't need to top for it. We just had to get high center count. So we just pushed really, really aggressively through the board. I ended on 12, won the tournament. He ended on 10, got his best Turkey. So both of us were sort of happy with what we wanted out of that game. And yeah, it was a really fun alliance. And yeah, it was
nice. Do you think there was one decision, one turn, one move, one anything that's really sort of was the key to your victory in the tournament?
I think it was Bradley stabbing Francesca in that Western triple in game 2. I think if Bradley hadn't made that stab, the Western triple would start together. I don't know if Bradley would have won the tournament. It's a Western triple, so England probably would have won that game. But I wouldn't have won that game, for sure. I would have been pushed out of the north, and there was a very solid Austria who wasn't taking too many risks and would have been able to jump on me in the south if I got too weak. I don't know whether David would have done or not, but I definitely wouldn't have topped that game. So Bradley came to my rescue in that way by attacking Francesca when he did.
Well, I'm sure he didn't mean to.
I'm certain he didn't mean to.
No, not at all. Well, are there any of your competitors that you like to call out specifically regarding their play, whether it was somebody you allied with or fought or both, anything that just stands out to you?
There was a lot of pretty high quality play. Simon and I had such a fantastic alliance in that final game. Both of us were really, really trusting of the other, left ourselves open to all sorts of things. And I think also that second game, when I went up to, I was on like 9 centres when David Wigglesworth in Austria and Bernard in Italy were on 6 and 5 in the air. And it would have been really easy for them to go, oh, Mikalis is a big threat, let's stab him now. And because I was so willing to like, oh, I need to give up Constantinople. I need to balance this out. So straight away, that was my pitch to them, was like, do that, blow up my fleet in the south and stick together. And all of us got a better result, I think, than we otherwise would have done if they'd stabbed that. From the rest of the games, I think Tom de Grief's defense in the final game, he was England in that one that I did the IT in, and he got sea lioned really, really aggressively by Isaac Jutes and by the Germany player. And they just had a dominant position. Russia had come in as well. Tom was down to 3, and Isaac was all set up to take Liverpool and London. And Tom, I don't know how he did it, convinced Isaac to stab Germany instead. And from a position where Tom, who was multi-boarding while he did this, no less. So he was in 2 games at once, in a horrendous position, just managed to get Isaac to do that. And Tom came back. He got a better result than Isaac, and I think a better result than Germany as well, by just not giving up and doing some incredible diplomatic work. Like, I didn't get to hear much of it, but I just looked over at the board and was like, how are you still alive? Because I just assumed he'd be dead from how brutally the first like year or 2 years had gone for him. And he turned it around fantastically. So that's why when he used to play virtual, he used to get very good results. And I've tried to convince him to start playing VDL again, because I miss playing with Tom. He's a really fun player.
I was just getting ready to say, if we were watching VDL a couple of years ago, we were watching Tom get some really good results during that era of the VDL. So, all right, now you have played in a lot of different places now, face to face. When you think about it, on the continent and in the UK, and frankly on both sides of the North American continent. So you've had a lot of broad experience playing with different types of people. Now I know that scoring system can change play style and decision making quite a bit. What have you noticed in that regard? Because you've played under a bunch of different scoring systems at this point.
I think some people obsess a lot about scoring systems and how to maximize results, and I think other people just tend to go in and try to have the best game that they have and worry less about scoring systems. I don't ignore scoring systems, but I am more in the latter camp. Like I'll look at what the main. Okay, does it reward a big top? Does it reward draw size if it's Dixie and cut and making sure that that's it? But beyond that, I don't tend to like obsess over scoring systems and calculate every single little point that I'm getting.
Are you alleging, Mikalis Kamaritis, that this thing right here, diplomacy, is more important than solving a math problem? Is that what you are alleging?
Yeah. I'll stick my face well over the parapet. I'll say that it's pretty much 99% diplomacy. If your position's terrible, no scoring system can save you. So get yourself a good position on the board and then worry about the maths. Don't do it the other way around. That's definitely how I play.
All right. Well, putting aside scoring systems for a minute, the meta in different geographic areas and among different groups is very significant, I think, for understanding how to play a particular tournament. What have you noticed in that regard, given the various, different locations you have played?
Yeah, that's definitely a lot more of a thing. You'll go to certain events and a move that's very rare from what you're used to playing online or playing in your local area will suddenly be like the default there. I'm trying to think, NDC, I didn't actually notice so much a standout thing. There were definitely things I remember when I was at Dixie last year. England-Germany alliances and England-Germany-Russia alliances and England-Russia alliances, just the North sweeping down was a big thing that you see very rarely online, but which was very common at those games. I remember at Whipping, there was also there were some really strong Austria performances and Italy's didn't do so well. I think NDC, it helped that a lot of the players there play online, play VDL, so the meta wasn't as different as it can be at some other events. But yeah, they're definitely, I think we'll see on the stream in games that I didn't play more patterns, because obviously I only played 3 games. I haven't yet had a chance to see what the other games look like. So something that might stand out to me might have just been a one-off, or which didn't stand out might have suddenly been a recurring pattern and therefore stand out more. You see, I've commentated a lot of Australian games this year, and Sevastopol to Romania as their first move. is like the default Russian opening, and that's really strange to me. But it seems to be a common thing in Australia.
When I first started playing the game back in the 1980s, that was the most common Russian opening as well. People not wanting to pick a fight with Turkey early. So it just obviously things come around after time. Well, what's the best advice you could give someone who may be traveling to San Francisco for that tournament that you have attended before, but are coming from a different meta, different part of the world? What's your best advice if they're going to San Francisco for World DibCon in April of how they should approach that?
Play some virtual, I think. A lot of the people who are going to be at San Francisco are going to play virtual. So get in, start working out how people play, watch some old videos, because you're going to see the same faces. You're going to see big name players who play in a lot of the big tournaments are going to be at WDC because it's the event of the year. So all these players that you get to play with either online or who have played previous tournaments, you get the opportunity. VWD or VDC is going to be in early January. Johnny's recently put the dates up for that. That's a great opportunity to sort of dip your toe in and get used to the North American style of play, because that tends to be very similar to how it is at Whipping, I think. Whipping itself, the scoring system, if I remember rightly, it's a fairly complex mix, but it's basically there's some points for eliminating players, so there's a sort of semi-draw size component, but the main bulk of it is just topping and topping by more. So in that regard, it's not that different to playing Open Tribute on a VDL game or VDC, and the ranked and a scoring system we've recently introduced to that as a similar sort of motivation where you want to be on top. I think that was it. I didn't think of a lot of planning last time I went to Whipping. It was very much a whirlwind trip. So there was very little preparation on my end. It was suddenly no intention of going. Oh my God, I'm there. What's happened? So I did all right there. Maybe that could work for other people.
Sure. Sometimes you just go and adapt to the situation. Don't worry about planning. All right. I got one last question for you, Mikalis, and I'm serious here. Are you ever going to actually win an event on your home soil? Or is that just not going to happen?
Well, I only turned 30 once, so I've got another 10 years before a birthday that I actually have to celebrate and therefore miss a diplomacy tournament over. I do think Bradley scheduled it deliberately on that weekend so that I wouldn't go. Outrageous stab on his part. I intend to go to at least one, hopefully 2 tournaments in Britain next year, so hopefully I can break that little duck. And
SpireCon's coming up in February. They just announced the dates for that.
Yep. And SpireCon is pretty close to where I am. That's quite accessible for me. More accessible than, say, a tournament in London or something it would be. So I'm definitely looking at SpireCon, and Warrington next year I will definitely be having a look at. More of a heads up in advance this time to plan for it as well is good. I hope to go to both of them, and hopefully I'll win at least one.
Well, we're not trying to paint a target on your back, but hey, y'all, we just painted a target on his back. Thanks for being on the show, Mikalis.
Always a pleasure.
And now, just what you've all been waiting for, it's time for another edition of Ed Sullivan's Backchannel to invade this news program. This time, Ed will show us a series of his Backchannel chats with various attendees of the Chicago tournament Weaselmoot in this very special Thanksgiving segment. The man, the myth, the legend, Ed Sullivan. How you doing?
David, happy Thanksgiving. One of the things I'm thankful for is David Hood.
As well you should be. Give us some idea of why we're seeing you in a random field.
Okay, so David, this is what we call a vineyard. And where they make wine. And I happen to think the best wines in the U.S. Oregon, in the Willamette Valley. There's a lot of hype about Napa, a lot of hype about Sonoma and other places, but right here in Oregon, Willamette Valley, unbelievable wine. So I'm here to do some wine tasting for 3 or 4 days because I can't get it done in just one day. And I'm also here to see my son graduate from a Christian education program.
Okay, well, good for you. In my lexicon, wine is just good grape juice gone bad. To me, that's what wine is.
I know. We can do this about barbecue or wine, David.
It's true. It's true. All right. Well, we are here to look at those videos I just mentioned from Chicago. Anything you want to say before I play the first one, which, by the way, will be Adam Silverman?
Okay. Well, the first thing I should say is, David, I don't know if you control the purse strings at DBN. We might need to doge DBN a little bit for some extra money and see if we can shake the coffers loose. But they had to put me in the fire escape, the firewell, if you will, for these interviews. So the audio leaves a little to be desired, but thank God my personality carried the day.
Yeah, I think the main reason to put you in the fire escape is in case the interviewee needs to make a quick exit. They've got an escape hatch. And I think that I think that's just really good planning on our part. But let's watch that first video.
All right, welcome to the Backchannel. The show is so hot they put us in the fire escape in Chicago. We're here. We're just waiting for the alarm bells to sound and the all clear sign goes and we can go play our third round. I'm here. I got it. Third year in a row. Tournament leader going into the third round of Weaselmoot. How do you handle the pressure, the fame, the glory, the love, the adoration?
Let it be like last year, not 2 years ago when you stabbed me in that third round.
I'm kind of hoping for the other. I'm kind of hoping for the forward. Okay, seriously, what is it about Chicago? Because I don't view you as this backstabby climb to the top of the,
No, I
the hole that you got to do here. How are you turning into Brandon Funk?
oh God, please don't say that. I still have something. That would be fun.
And seriously, what explains your success?
I try to be a good ally. Try to find people I can work with and develop good relationships on the board. That's all I can do.
Okay, what's the goal for round 3? Because last year you basically promised someone best country to go ahead. Is that what you're going to be looking for this year?
It's actually a lot tighter than it was last year near the top. So I think I probably need a better result, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm just going to go in and play a game and do the best I can, right?
Okay, well, I hope. I don't know, sure. I had too much success. And I'll give you a tip. I've been giving them
I could use
lots of tips.
I could use the help. I know you've had a lot of success. And, you didn't get eliminated.
I didn't get eliminated. Here's just be generous. Be generous. Kind in spirit. If you, what does the Bible say?
That was beautiful.
If you give, you'll give back 20-fold.
That was good.
So what I need is a lot of supports, and I need you to see a lot of other people do it. And I think you will get back 20-fold.
Let's do it.
Congratulations.
Well, did he listen to you? I mean, he did win the tournament, so maybe he actually listened to you.
He did. Okay, go look at the third round. He totally misplayed it. He played this Care Bear. He was giving back. He was giving to his Alliance play members. And guess what? He got back 20-fold. Because when Tim Crosby makes the stab of the tournament and gets all those centers to win the tournament, only to find out that time had been called and it didn't count. So, Adam, listen to my advice. He won 2 years in a row. You can call me Crespin.
Awesome. Well, this is a Thanksgiving edition of Deadline. What are you thankful for, given that about Adam Silverman being in our hobby? What does that make you feel? How does that make you feel thankful?
Okay, straight talk time, as Zachary Moore would say. It is so disheartening that Adam Silverman is so nice and actually plays so well. I'm thankful that we get to play with super generous, nice guys, and it is frustrating that they still win. But it is for someone who's not a nice guy like myself. But it is great for the hobby that the nice guys finish first, and he always seems to finish first or close to it at Weaselmoot. So I'm thankful for that for Adam Silverman.
All right. Well, let's contrast that nice guy image with the next person that we're going to be interviewing, and we'll just add that to the stage and play it.
Welcome to Backchannel, and this is where Brandon Fogel decides to put us in the fire escape. This is what you and your network has relegated this show to, for no reason.
Yeah, what's neat is that you think you might actually get out of here.
I'll tell you what's not getting out of here. My anger at having more centers than you on the power, that's not counting as best country. How come you set up all the rules? You said the tournament rules, these are rules, and the rules are always against me. Why?
Well, part of the problem is your victim complex. Which, if you know Ed Sullivan, is very deep.
Got a lot of problems. Everyone's against me.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not because of the way you smell or the things that you say. It's everything else about it.
Which could be all valid reasons. Okay, look, everyone knows how you are and how you play, and you still keep doing it. How do you always get to be Lucy next to these Charlie Browns?
Ed, you like to put yourself forward as somebody who loves tide tops and just loves forming alliances and having these arranged endings, and yet between the two of us, I am the only one who has a tide top ending named after him.
You do, the very famous Fogel, which must be because of the, you led the charge in this incredibly collaborative and pro-friendship way of diplomacy. That's what you're doing.
That is how I do.
Okay, look, let's be serious, because you're going to do my math for me right now, which is, you had a good for round one, round two, not so much, but you're going into round three, you're very much in the mix. And we got Cameron and something here, so it's going to be your strategy. How do you approach it in a time round? What are you going to do?
Well, first of all, I'm going to find ways to talk more trash about hair than Ed Sullivan.
There you go. You think that's the winning strategy?
Because having done the camera for the interview you did with him, I see that that's really the secret to success. It's just trying to insult people somehow about hair.
You got it all wrong. I don't like the insults. I like to be insulted.
No, you do.
You can do it. It's fine. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim.
You like to be insulted so that you have something to
But notice, we gotta go back up later on. But you didn't answer the question.
Yeah, I actually may not even be playing. I may have to sit.
This is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome back, show.
All right. Is there anything to be thankful for about Brandon Fogel being in the hobby?
There's a lot to be thankful for. I'm gonna play the conch to your hood on this one.
Okay.
I remain in this hobby in large part because of Brandon Fogel. If America had 300 million Brandon Fogels, we would be a better place. He is a genuine, good human being who a lot for the things that he loves and that he cares so much. And I'm thankful for his friendship. I'm certainly grateful that he didn't play that third game at Weaselmoot so I could get a second or third place or whatever it is I got. But, big ups on Brandon Fogel. Glad to have him around. And you can hate on him all you want, David, but that's you, not me.
I'm just making sure we're talking. It's Brandon Fogel, not Brandon Dix, not Brandon Austin. You are actually talking about Brandon Fogel. Is that right? We have a lot of Brandons.
I'm talking about Brandon Fogel.
Okay.
Is that he did take that Fogel from me. That should be the Sullivan, but let him keep it. He's earned it.
All right. Well, as the folks can tell here, these videos were taken between round 2 and 3 of the tournament. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part. Some are after round 1, but yeah, the ones we've seen so far.
All right. Well, you just mentioned Tim Crosby making a big move, at the end of round 3, and it possibly not counting. Let's see what your discussion with Tim Crosby looked like before then.
All right, welcome to Backchannel. Look at these glorious sets that DBM provides us with. It's a point of refuge. It's very quiet. Sometimes I feel like it might be a point of the refuse, okay? Given that we were the trash while all the other played.
Yeah, look that way.
We got the 13-13.
We did.
We can't do this when we did this. We did it.
That was quite a ride.
We played it our way. We got a lot of haters out there, so we should have still.
Oh, did we?
Positive. We did the right thing. It was this close, though. It is close. I was this close. I would have snagged it if Brian hadn't. If Brian hadn't. It's okay.
That's what I know. When he walked out of Norway, that's what I like. No, I'm not getting stabbed.
Okay, so why'd you come to Chicago? You're not coming. You are face-to-face regular. Why'd you do it?
Because during the pandemic, I got into the virtual through Windy City Weasels.
Okay, your refrigerator just stand still.
Okay,
That's all.
I'm really nervous. I joined their club after they had a Weaselmoot on.
No, I'm just because you go ahead. Because you're going to be there. That's the answer.
I didn't know you were going to be there. And then he put out the list. I was like, oh, Ed,
But ultimately,
and Darren, and oh my gosh, and Brandon. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a top 10, maybe.
now you're knee deep in the third game.
Yeah.
Is it a slugfest?
No, it's not too bad. Playing calm, quiet. You've already got your 30. I got my 13 best rush done. So
You showed them up.
I'm gonna try to get a 14 best turkey flop so I can take it from you.
No, I didn't get it. I got said by
Oh,
Brandon.
that's right. I'll get it from Brandon now.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, so Tim Crosby. Did he take that best turkey from you?
You know, he called a shot. If you like, I didn't realize it because I recorded that during the lunch break of round 3, and I hadn't really looked at his round. I was just more selfish, oriented towards my own misfortunes in my game. And he goes, "I'm looking for 14 centers." I mean, you know, I kind of heard that, but I was like, that's not, you know. So he had a plan even then. That lunch break was too long, I guess. But I want to say this about Tim, which is Tim and I have never gotten along on a board together. I mean, nice guy. We've gotten along off the board. We can, you know, have a drink and talk. But on the board, we've always been a little bit at cross purposes. And we hit a round 2 together where it all clicked. We were in the matrix together. And when that happens for the first time with someone you haven't worked with, it gives you hope for the future. That no relationship in diplomacy is always on the dustbin of history, that you can do stuff. And if we hadn't done that work together, I mean, it put us in the mix for the tournament in round 3, and he damn near pulled it off. I'm grateful that Tim Crosby and I got a chance to have poor rounds in the first round together, because it forced us out of necessity to learn to like as game styles in round 2.
Well, that's a good thing to say about Tim. And speaking of people with whom you've never had a relationship issue, let's watch the next video.
All right, welcome to the Backchannel. They've literally thrown us into the stairwell here. Here at Chicago, I'm here with former Alpha Weasel Sarah Kwok, who's so good. She only wanted to play one round just to make sure to punish.
No, I now need to play a second round to try to make sure that Adam does not win 2 years in a row. It looks like a really tall task, but maybe with help from some of, like, you know, our friends on, you know, in the rest of the tournament and some, like, good people with good intentions, we can all do it together.
Okay, so you're coming in. You now are a Chicago resident.
Yes.
And you decided to play with the Weaselmoot.
Mm-hmm.
First round, you get put next to Nick the Spider.
Nick.
And you did him dirty. Wow. Was it because of me?
Yeah, and I'm sorry. It was because of you, because like I was telling Nick, the vast majority of people playing Russia, because I was England and Nick was Germany, the vast majority would have tried to defend against England, but you just decided you were mad.
I love her.
You were mad that he'd bounce you out of Sweden, so you were going to send everything against him, and that led to an opportunity that I just couldn't turn.
That's right. My genius allowed you to stab him.
Your G.
There we go. Okay. But you didn't play round 2 because you're a student.
I had a lot of homework.
And is homework important in diplomacy?
Yes.
It is? I think the kids would be shocked to hear that. That's breaking news.
No, kids, you have to remember to do your homework so that you're able to get a job that gives you enough money to go to diplomacy tournaments. Otherwise, there's no diplomacy in your future.
Those that forget history are doomed to repeat it. 2 years ago, you walked into Weaselmoot in the final round in a bit of a tussle. You were in the top 3, and you did keep Worstel bad. You got all those stutters of Keith, and you win, and you became Alpha Weasel, and I was so happy. Today, they've always won. Just eliminate out.
Stop Adam from doing what I was not able to do and repeat his win a second year in a row.
All right, best of luck to you, Sarah. The world is rooting for you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right.
All right, Sarah and Quack, ladies and gentlemen. Lot to be thankful for with Sarah, I think. But tell me what you think.
I tell you what, Saren is sort of, wise beyond her years in many ways, that she's able to play this game with such foresight, strategic depth, for the most part friendly like I am. Occasionally she has to get the knives out. And who would have thought that the two of us, generally play so well? Although she got the better of me in round 1, and I ended up the fact that we're able to meet, talk, play with, and find commonality, it gives you hope for the future.
Well, let's talk about a newer face maybe to DBN, which is Nick Heibel. That's going to be our next interview, and you can tell me a little bit about him after we watch the video.
All right, welcome. This is a very special Backchannel because making his Backchannel debut in the stairwell is Nick something. Nick Volpez. I know him as Volpez for Olympus season 1 and 2.
My last name, but yeah, Volpez works. Volpez works.
Okay, we got a little kitty cat.
Yeah, with a
knife.
With a knife. That's very much how I play the game. Mostly cute. Have a really well placed knife.
But if I had to actually categorize your game, I think you would have been the mouse.
Yes, that is how I play the series. Yes, that is how I play the series.
Okay. All right, but let's go over it. In round 1, you angered me.
Yeah, I know.
But round 2, how did it go?
Round 2, very stalemating game in the East. I spent the whole game trying to prevent Brandon Vogel from getting Austria and Russia to kill me as Turkey. And I managed a 3-center survival, which I'm happy with given the circumstance.
Is this your first face-to-face tournament?
First face-to-face tournament, third face-to-face game.
Okay.
Second and third were yesterday.
Yeah, and by the way, if you don't know Nick, he is a season finalist of Olympus season 1 and 2. People talk about rookie of the year. This guy is the hottest guy in diplomacy right now. He just hasn't played face to face yet. And we're all happy about that because the results are going to be there. So the more practice you get, it's going to be unbelievable. But here's what I want to know. Would you rather be known as a good liar or an unreliable player?
Good liar.
Good liar.
Good liar.
How are we doing on that?
Not particularly well in this face-to-face tournament.
Shall we go over tips to lie?
Sure, yeah. What are the Ed tips to lie?
You have to act like what you're telling is the truth.
Yeah, that's a real story.
Yeah. If you can pull that one skill off, I think,
Yeah.
When they can tell if you're lying or telling the truth. That's where you want to be. That's your swing tip for round 3. Okay, look, what are we goals for round 3?
Round 3, I just want to have a good game. Don't need to top the board. I would like to grow a little bit, play a role in the mid-game and end-game, make something interesting happen.
Right. Just stop. No, that's not your goal.
Okay, what's my goal?
Okay,
what's
there's
my
a
goal?
whole tournament going on.
Yeah.
Okay, just get out of your own little,
Okay, I can get out of my own.
And so you need to think, how can I affect the tournament? And how do I want to affect this tournament? Do I have a chance to king make? Do I have a chance not to king make?
Okay, yeah, fair.
And I say that knowing that I might be the person that you king make.
Yeah, I would happily kick at you, Ed.
That's on tape.
It's on tape.
I would say that's a binding contract.
Yeah, that is a binding
All right,
contract.
thank you.
He's a lawyer, too.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about Volpez as an online player, because you mentioned in the video him doing so well in Olympus. But for those that may be watching that are not familiar, tell me a little bit about him as a player and why you're thankful that he showed up for a face-to-face tournament.
Okay, so I watched him make the finals of Olympus Season 1, where he finished in second place to Bradley Grace. And then he was Season 2, where he had an early exit, but he made the finals. And I think he's well on his way to making the semifinals right now of Olympus Season 3. He has come into the hobby, like a lot of us do, full of enthusiasm. But what he's done is keep it up. And he's gotten the bug a little bit like Justin Lohr, another guy. And Patrick Jacobson. I can't remember Patrick's last name right now. I'm blanking, but
Jacobson,
people who just in the last year or so found the game, and they're becoming a little obsessed by it. Now what they need to do is pull back a little, to be fair, because there's a burnout rate in this game for some of us. But he showed up not knowing anybody, right? Just online to Weaselmoot, first face-to-face tournament. He did great. You can see he's got a great personality. You can see why he does well. And I find it, it's an unusual combination, David. Like Conk doesn't even have it, because Conk at face-to-face tournaments is horrible. We all know that. He can't do anything. But he's so good in press and in person. And to get that that's rare. That's rarefied.
It is rare. Well, let's look at someone who is obsessed about the game but didn't learn it recently. In fact, he's old as hell. Let's watch your video with him.
Welcome to Backchannel. You, I've been told, is responsible for this wonderful setup plan. So thank you very much.
I do the best for you, Ed.
Okay, first of all, I believe you're of Irish descent.
A wee bit.
Yeah. And yet, I don't know any Irishmen as tall as you. How did that happen?
Well, not second.
Okay, all right, wait. You played in 2 rounds. You stepped in and you played 2 rounds simultaneously last night?
Yep.
And 1 round here.
Correct.
How many?
1 center.
1 center.
No, last it feels good. I worked with Morgantic for about the first time, I think, ever. I worked with you, or actually, I took orders from you, and then you had yet.
That's our Brian. It's not our me.
Oh, that is on Brian. Brian says that Weasel on Weasel violence sells on BBM.
There's so you had to be a replacement player today, but for last night, I could tell you are a wheeler dealer guy. You're an agent of chaos. Is this how you play? Because it's insane.
The game is named diplomacy. We're not here to push pieces around. We're here to talk to people. We're here to make plans. We're here to break plans. We're here to make new plans and lie and have fun. That's all, Eddie.
All right. Why could you find me more centers?
I gave you everything that you asked for, and then some. And then you took the ones I had left over that you
Crowd us the young thief. Well, I needed him.
That's alliance.
I think you're the best. You're the baby. I'd like to give you the award for best alliance for draft. Thank you.
You are better ally than Brandon Bowl.
That's about what. If anyone can murk a cat in O'Kelly, you should. Because this man will give you dots like your Pac-Man. Yeah. All right.
Man, I didn't realize Kevin was such a pushover.
I'm going to tell you what, every diplomacy player needs to have a Kevin O'Kelly in their life. When you're down and you need a fix and you need some dots, Kevin is there and he'll give you those dots. I was really thankful for Kevin, not just for what he does for DBN, but what he did for me in that tournament. It was great playing with him.
Well, and just to be serious for a minute, we in DBN are very thankful to have Kevin because he's so important to us as a network, not just hosting broadcasts, but also behind the scenes doing producer work. You know, he may suck at face-to-face diplomacy because he works with you, but he does not suck at being a DBN guy. So thank you, Kevin O'Kelly.
I actually want to say this, which is like most people, you know, it's the glamour of me being in a vineyard, you being in front of a green screen, and Brandon Fogel and all his star worshiping. But let me tell you something. The guy who's always there behind the scenes is Kevin O'Kelly, and he gets no fame or glory. He gets no DBN budget. He doesn't get all the glory, but he does do all the dirty work. Just
yeah,
like
He's
Just
not
like
getting
an
the
Alliance
Emmy
card.
award. Yeah, he's not getting the Emmy awards the rest of us are getting. He's not. He's an unsung hero. All right, you said that everyone in diplomacy needs a Kevin O'Kelly in his life. Would it also be true that everyone in diplomacy needs a Christian Brown in his life? We're going to find out by watching the next interview.
All right, welcome to the Backchannel here. We're very excited to have tournament leader. We're tournament leader, Christian Brown. Buddy. You've not been here before. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to kick some butt and take some names. I'm ready to scheme. I'm ready to do whatever it takes.
Okay, well, people don't know. You're the leader technically because they counted 3 rounds, and this is a free one. You get a free shot here. You play 2 boards at once. You top one of those 2 boards. Tied for 3rd. True, and yours truly in the other one.
Yeah.
And then last night, split a huge top. Now people, maybe me, have been propagandizing that you're not trustworthy, and yet look what you're doing. You split 2 boards, you're top of another. Are you trustworthy? Like, how are you doing it? How did you turn your game around?
I think it's my smile. I think it's the look, look at somebody in the eye, just like, this is how we're going to work together.
Okay. I already can tell the problem here. Listen, one of the stir up,
Those shucks.
you're gonna don't act confident.
Okay, don't I call them?
People want to help. You need to figure this part out right now.
Yes.
People, right, we here in the media, are generally good, and they want to help people. If you come across arrogant, they won't want to help you.
Yeah.
I'm saying go in there humble, go in there as a servant leader, and good things may happen.
Okay, I'll then forget what I said before, and that was perhaps a little bit prideful, and
There we go. You got it now. You get that.
I believe that we can work together to both achieve our aims in this game.
Now, what do you want? What do you want? Would you like to be best? Name your country.
Would you like to be best England?
I will help you become best England.
I'm going to become best Nick.
Because, and you might ask, why would I do that? Because we would both win in that case.
Yeah. We would
Think about that.
We would both win.
I'll see you in about 4 hours as Alpolizo.
All right. I think positive. Think positive. Let's rock.
All right, Ed, for those that are watching that want you to coach them, are you available by the hour? I mean, explain what your role might be as a future diplomacy coach.
Let me tell you what, it's all about visualization. You have to visualize success. If I could only follow my advice, I'd be, the Andrew Goff of diplomacy. But I can't visualize my own success, but I can see it in others, David. I can see what Christian Brown needs. And my God, he almost pulled it off. Just a little short on the 3rd round, but guys coming to diplomacy tournaments, I'm thankful that Christian Brown is in this hobby because he's one of those players like a 70s sitcom with an angel and a devil on his shoulder at all times, and you don't know which one's going to win the episode. And it's fun playing with a guy like that because you want him to do the one thing, but you always have to think, well, what's the other, what's the devil on his shoulder going to tell him? And so anyways, it's part of the beauty of the game is that so many different personality types. And I think he's really trying, to be fair, to find his home as a diplomacy player and what kind of player he wants to be. And so I obviously I joke with him. He doesn't need much of my coaching, but I like pretending that I'm helping him.
Visualizing seems like a pretty good tip. I'm trying to visualize your diplomatic ability, and here's what I'm visualizing: that you're sort of in a world by yourself with nobody around you. You've been unable to attract it, like in an open field with a kind of a cloudy sky. Wait a minute, I'm just visualizing the way you look right now. It seems like this is your this is you in diplomacy right now. I don't see any allies anywhere near you. I don't see very much prospects. You're in the middle of a field. This visualization thing's really working.
David, you got to help me out here, okay? Because my diplomacy game, because you're one of the people who victimized me earlier this year. Okay, I'm thankful for that victimization because I'm coming to grips with the mediocre player that I am, and it's hard because I've had so much success, and now I don't have it. And I know you haven't had that success, but how should I deal with it? Maybe you can coach me up a bit.
I would, but I don't really care, so I'm not going to.
Man, nobody cares.
I'm just going to leave you in the field, in the empty, isolated field where you belong. But now you mentioned the venue, whatever it is. All right, so you mentioned a 70s sitcom with somebody with an angel on one shoulder, a devil on the other shoulder. Let's look at someone who I argue to you probably has an angel on both shoulders. We'll see what you think after we watch the video.
I'm very excited to have him in. Ed, how are you? The last time we had an interview was DixieCon a couple of years ago.
We had an interview done it.
Oh, we did one in Armada.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the strength Weaselmoot game came out. It's going well no matter what. And it's been a tough turn. How do you get, you come in, first couple of lines were tough, but now, like,
that's a nice word.
They were tough, but now, you parlayed all that. And just explain how your mental motivation, what are you playing for?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for context, I was eliminated in my first game as Austria by end of 1903. Second game, sat on one center for a long, long time, and ultimately made it to a 7-way draw. So I'm doing really good this tournament. The mental mindset for this game, I think, is just, I have a pretty low bar to beat. But when the pressure is off, because you have a low bar to beat, you're willing to be a little more experimental, you're willing to try a couple things, and we tried a couple things. I convinced Turkey, convinced Russia,
you can see the moves.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about all the moves, but it's been fun to do some things that, maybe I wouldn't do, but because you're kind of operating from like a position of loss, you're willing to take those risks to try something, push yourself back up a little bit.
You are a hardcore traveler. You've been to Dixie, you've been to Armada, you're coming here. Why do you do it?
I mean, to play
because of me.
Well, yes.
Okay,
the finals of bestseller, the New York Times. The reason I come to diplomacy games is Ed Sullivan.
That's right.
Beyond that, I mean,
in second place, a distant second.
Yeah, the game itself, of course, but the people. I mean, it's a very fun social event. If you're watching and you don't ever come to face-to-face things, you play online, or you are new to diplomacy in general, I highly recommend connecting with a local group if you have one, or travel somewhere. I don't have a local group in my area, which is part of the reason I travel, because the only time I get to play face-to-face is when I travel for tournaments. So, strongly recommend. It's really fun. You hang out, someone stabs you on the board, you go have a drink or a meal afterwards. It's a good time.
That's right. Anyways, Cameron, happy you're here. Glad to see you, and congrats on all your diplomacy success. You are up there. You're getting up there. You're going to be head of Sarah one day.
No,
we all hope to be head of Sarah one day.
Listen, I mean, that's a really lofty goal. It's something to aim at, right? Okay. Thanks.
So, what I meant, of course, Cameron Higby, a lot of people in our hobby, frankly, come to tournaments looking like slobs. Not Cameron Higby, who always looks completely put together. What is your view?
I met him in the car that you picked us up in DixieCon 2 years ago. And I'm so glad that our hobby has a place for Cameron Higby, who's an introvert, unassuming, genuinely good human being. You got a lot of strong personalities. You got a lot. There are more games with Ed Sullivan's than there are Cameron Higby type personalities out there. And he manages all these strong personalities, and what he's learned to do in the last 2 years. I mean, Brandon and I, mostly me, talked him out of voting himself out of a draw of DixieCon 2 years ago that he should never have done, right? Because he didn't want to rock the boat, I think. He wanted to, but I don't think he would do that now. But he's like jujitsuing all this stuff. It's like judo tossing these personalities over. So, and that third round, newsflash, he board tops that round. And he's facing traditionally thought of as an alliance partnership with me and Saren. And he played us both off each other. Okay. And so he's every tournament he's going to, he's knocking on that door like Bump Phillips used to say about the Oilers. And I think he's going to do it. But I'm so happy for him. And I had a chance to work with him as well. And just a pleasure.
An absolute pleasure. All right, let's look at a player who was knocking around and sort of getting close to doing good finishes for a while and never quite got it. And then all of a sudden won the tournament in San Francisco in his first tournament win. Let's watch your interview with him from the Chicago Weaselmoot.
All right, welcome to the Backchannel and the Fire Escape. And I've got, with the red hair, very fire-oriented, the winner and champion of whipping. The big West Coast tournament. And we came here now, full of vinegar, ready to show everybody how easy it is to win these diplomacy tournaments. How did it go?
It's not easy. I'm not doing so hot. You're building me up too much. I got one last chance to make it happen. See if I got any magic left.
This sounds like a great movie. Like if we could just get it all together, we got this one thing where all the crummy pre-storytelling, but that all just went away now.
Yeah. One man, one beard, one dream.
Oh, what's happened?
Windy City.
Why am I so brilliant?
Well, my first mistake was being next to Brandon Fogel. Round 2 went a lot better.
So we know what not to do now.
Yeah. Don't believe Chris Kelly when he says he's going to help you work against Brandon Fogel.
Ultimately, right, so when Brandon's always going to get someone to turn.
Brandon is always going to get someone to turn. He's never going to be out of position. And he's always going to have that same beautiful face that you just can't attack.
Okay, but you're like a diplomacy hobby legend. I remember you when you were the rookie.
That's not true.
I remember that.
I mean, I'm not a legend.
And now, just go ahead. Now, you're coming to these tournaments and you're a big name. This is Stephen Hope. And you didn't have that before. You've got that now. Is it hard to, is it hard to face down this competition when people are looking at you like the target?
No.
If you could trade your whipping win and instead not have people look at you with awe, envy, and maybe a little greed, would you take that trade?
No way. Wouldn't give up whipping.
It doesn't matter if you're last place.
No way. Yeah. Taking it to the grave.
Take the win.
Yeah.
Always take the win.
Take the win. Take the solo, take the win.
Look, if any man, they're wearing a lemonade shirt, but if any man could make lemonade from lemons here, that could be you in round 3. I'm going to be like, hey, no one saw it coming in whipping in round 3.
Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, I've already played Austria, so I'm probably not going to get Austria again, so can't make that.
The only man rooting to play Austria.
Put me in France.
Good luck.
Thanks.
You're on mute, David. You're on mute.
Yes, I was, because my dog was barking. I was going to say, always take the win is pretty good advice in general, isn't it?
These NFL coaches who take points off the board, I've been watching football for 50 years. It never works out. Take the points, take the win. Be happy for what we get, because you know what, David? Life is short.
It is short. Steve Hogue has had a relatively short diplomacy life, sort of joined the hobby during the pandemic. I think, frankly, he was planning to come to DixieCon that year the pandemic hit. So that was when he was starting. But isn't it great? I'm certainly thankful to have people like him that have joined our hobby during the pandemic era.
Yeah, I am too. I am one of those people. And one of the things I really like playing with Stephen Hogue about, it's like, you always say, David, that diplomacy is about the 7 pieces that are moving the pieces on the board, and it is exceedingly difficult was for me for a while to figure out how Stephen Hope ticks, because he isn't out there thinking like I think or other players think about how to top the board, how to win the tournament, what do I need to do here. He's actually playing because he's like, this is a fun game. I don't want to take an early draw, even though I'm losing right now, maybe a random game, because I want to keep playing and I want to keep talking to people and I want to keep my pieces around. And that lack of self-interest is a challenge sometimes to deal, or his self-interest is just having fun and playing the game. Like, who would have thought that would be why anyone would actually ever play? But, but it's wonderful to play with. Even though when you do play with him, sometimes very frustrating, but it's all logical in his way. You just got to figure it out.
Well, I know he said, one thing he said in his interview was, don't trust anything Chris Kelly says. Let's look at your interview with Chris Kelly next.
All right, welcome to Backchannel, the hottest show on DBN. We're so hot that they moved us inside. We think we might get robbed any second now, but we're hiding out.
We get evacuated.
For a minute. We're hiding out here in the bunker, and I'm with the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Kelly, who shit talks a lot on YouTube. But when it's time to do it in the game, what happens, sir? Who's gonna die? All right, you got 2 games.
I have one day with whizzing around.
Yeah. Well, that's almost a win for you.
It is. It's absolutely a win for me.
All right. Why did you show up to diplomacy
and subsequently
at one event, but never do anything other than comment on DBN? What brings you as a fan of DBN so much that you want to comment, but you don't play so much?
I think the timing of it, I can consider it all when the break and signing when I feel like it. There's the playing is pressure. I mean, you've got like beyond the whole time.
You're not on the whole time?
No.
When I see you in the comments, you always got a witty comment, a witticism to make, if you will.
Let's jump in when I have something to say.
I think you're not drinking in my spots. I think my swing tip for you is you need to drink during the games.
Well, they need to have these games closer to the bar.
Are they going into round 3? Are you going to play those?
You're saying?
Okay.
I think.
You got any goals?
No.
Would you like to do? No goals.
No goals.
How do you achieve anything in life?
I sing Zen. I'm unlikely. Play Zen.
All right, well, I wish you best of luck, but I don't even think you know what you're going to do.
No, I don't.
So I wish you health and happiness.
The best thing I could do.
And that's exactly what I have when people playing games next to me.
Hey, hit them.
Thanks.
He plays Zen, Ed. He plays Zen. He's
I
enlightened.
haven't worked him out yet because thank God DBN has him, because if we didn't have him, we'd have to invent him. He's a keyboard warrior out there with all his comments and witticisms, but when you get him in the game, this guy, you can't crack the code of Chris Kelly. I mean, I view myself as a bit of a amateur psychologist. And I can't figure this guy out. And so but he's a delight. He's quite the gentleman.
I think he likes it this way. He likes it that you can't figure him out.
He does that.
All right. Well, let's look at a very different personality. Emmett Wainwright used to be one of my North Carolina guys who's moved to Colorado and has now become part of the leadership of the club in the Denver Boulder area. So let's watch your interview with Emmett Wainwright.
All right. Like Christian is our cameraman. He just said like something. Welcome to the back channel. Emmett?
Yes.
How are we doing? This is now going into round 3.
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I definitely need a top to have to really want to this tournament. But yeah, feel pretty good about my first 2 results.
Okay. Will you think everyone will blame you if Adam Silverman wins?
Maybe a little bit, and probably a little bit deserved. Yeah, we tried to go against them in game 2, right? Cameron and I did, kind of crash Germany from the beginning, and then he threw it. He was able to hold me off, and then Ben built the fleet Gulf Coast, and I was like, now it's time to go against England. And
Okay, you're someone I've watched you. We played together 2 or 3 years ago, and every tournament now you're being in the mix, You're in the mix in this one, and you're getting great results. Tell the people how coming to these tournaments, how your game has improved. Give us your honest view of it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still figuring that bit out, right? Like I know I have trouble getting the tops, and then like Weaselmoot, that is
Get that cold heart.
yeah.
Get that cold heart.
I'm too much of a softie. That's what. Yeah, need to overlearn that, you know. No, I'm a pretty like I like working with people, and I like that interpersonal relationship. But I do need to push myself that a little bit more to do it.
I think it's supposed to be fun. I think you should go out there and play the game you want to play.
Thanks.
That's what you should do. And that'll give you more comfort, and then the results will even improve off the admirable ones you've had. Good luck in round 3.
Thanks.
Emmett Wainwright, what a great guy.
If you had a son, you'd want him to grow up like Emmett Wainwright, to be honest with you, because he's such a kind-hearted, good person. Like I told him, he needs a little bit of a colder heart in diplomacy, but that ship will come home to port. He made his bones for me playing Armada in 2023 in the first round, where I think he went like 17 or 18 hours in the game going for the solo. Okay, so he's got it in him, and he was in the mix again.
Yeah, he's been in the mix a number of times this season, I think. Yeah, he's been in the mix a number of times. All right, speaking of that, here's another guy that's often in the mix for any tournament he plays, Mr. Ben Kelman.
Welcome to Backchannel. We're your perpetual guest, Ben Kelman.
Now playing here, and we're in the point of refuge. Started out great. You went after me, and you came on top. How's it? Do you feel like I'm in?
I can't remember on my game, honestly. This isn't live.
This is what I'm
I'm just
losing
kidding.
to. This is who I'm losing to.
We
We
can't
keep
even
talking
talking
about. What are you talking about? I didn't come after you. Okay, all right. That's fine. That's fine. All right. Nevertheless, first game, which I remember perfectly, you did well. Second place,
I was playing Turkey. I did well. I was second place, so it was fine. Yeah.
Then it seems like I think what we're seeing here, this is not Benny's in game. This is like a real video game where it's in 3D.
Right.
This is the Ben, the man.
You know, if I'm in the game, I'm in the game.
You're right. This is how he is. You got to negotiate with this.
Right.
Okay, so second game.
You've got to negotiate with this.
Second game.
Yeah.
That didn't look so good. I wasn't in it. So
No, it wasn't good. I made some choices early in the game that committed me in specific directions that didn't work out long term. It's tricky playing Russia. Boomer bust, right?
Third game, we can't talk about the end game.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say it. Yeah. Can't talk. We were still building game, but just in general, right?
Right.
What motivation do you have when you come into a game and it looks like it's going to be difficult? Like me, I have different motivation. Like what? Yeah. How do you max?
I've had a couple of middling results, and that actually takes some pressure off. And I kind of like playing that last game where you come in and it's just like, let's do the most we can do. Let's try to find a way for this to be a fun, interesting game. And you're not thinking about the tournament overall so much. Maybe that's a lesson for me for the earlier rounds.
Well, the reason why I said it, you did something which I think is fun and unusual. There was a draw proposal on our board, and you vetoed it because you said, I just want to play more diplomacy.
Right, it was 1903, and I was like, let's keep playing. We're here all day. I came to Chicago. We want to play diplomacy. It's a fun game.
Right.
And they're still playing the game, and yeah, nobody would have been upset with how their score was, but you know, it's fun to keep playing.
Ben, you are the gentleman of diplomacy.
Thanks, so.
After macro.
After macro. Can't lead on macro.
Ben Kelman, ladies and gentlemen. And unlike Ed Sullivan, Ben Kelman has actually played college football.
Did he play? I mean, it wasn't like a real team or anything, but look, this guy, he does have that athlete's mentality. And the thing about it is he just wants to get better. That's it. He wants to get better. And what's been holding him back it has been the same thing that was holding Emmett back a little bit, was that lack of a cold heart. But let me tell you what, he's getting that cold heart. I've seen it now come up. Man, he got me pretty good in round 1 of Weaselmoot, and I couldn't put my magic voice on the radio and change him back the other way. No. It turned ice cold on him, and he had a lot of success. And I think that, if he realizes that, just play the advantage that he's been given, you'll see more and more results from Ben. I mean, he's making top boards all the time now. And so you never underestimate him. He'll crack through big time in the future.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. All right, our last interview, speaking of being thankful.
Thank God, David. Let's go.
Yeah, well, it's our last. I'm enjoying watching you freeze to death at Willamette Valley.
Freezing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it myself, so we're going to expand this as long as we can. But this is Brian Pravel. This is someone I'm incredibly thankful for, not only for the Weaselmoot work that he does, but all the work he does on DBN and elsewhere. What a spectacular man. Let's watch your interview with him.
Welcome to Backchannel, the hottest show at DBN. I wanted to thank you for the production budget. This is what we have, thanks to DBN and the Weasels and for the registration money to us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We've doubled the budget this year.
With the Access Fund, we'll be having a yacht party.
In the Chicago tradition, we're going to embezzle money. If we didn't, no one will know. But I am going to invite everyone to my own personal party next year.
Okay, look, if we can all vote early and vote often like we do in Chicago, I would vote this as the most fun tournament. We are done. Thank you for running the tournament.
Thank you for coming.
We're not done though. Yeah, it's called the warm-up.
Yeah.
I'm fattening you up. Okay. All right, look, we were a little touch and go there on boards, but look, people came through.
They did. We came through.
The royal we.
Yeah.
Okay, you went out there this time, and I think this is an amazing accomplishment. You played in 2 rounds, and you were only eliminated 1 time.
I was not eliminated.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Are you saying you're not eliminated?
I was not eliminated. Yeah.
Is this the best tournament result you've ever had?
It's not the best tournament result I've ever had, but
I feel like it is.
It's the best tournament result I've had.
It's always fun. So we played together. How much fun was that?
Come on, it was. Everyone, and I mean this in all sincerity, this is not Backchannel BS. Ed Sullivan is a great player to play with. That is bullshit.
I'm going to tell you something, Brian. And you tell that why I said. If you had not messed up that one order, who would we be announcing as a tournament victor?
It would probably be Adam Silverman.
I'm more than surprised, man. Look, brother, thank you for running this tournament. It's so much fun.
All right, no Backchannel BS. Give us your thoughts about Brian Pravel.
Love the man. And what is so unusual, what I don't know is he's so confident. He reads the board. He gives us theories. He tells us what's happening. And when I've played with him, he's a little hesitant. And all the board reading skills that we see on the show aren't there always in real life. But this time, he and I got to play a game together, and I internally in my head, I'm like, not like every other time, I'm not going to kill Brian. I want to work with Brian. I want to play with Brian this time. And we played. He was great. I mean, he loves diplomacy. I'm a little regretful because he did really mess up one order that I would have won the tournament on. But that was probably the better order for him. All right. But that's okay. I'm not going to hold any hard feelings against Brian because Brian wouldn't hold any hard feelings against me. And he did a great job. I just like getting to be around people who love playing diplomacy, who are genuinely good human beings. Don't understand how this game of so many scoundrels and despicable human beings like David Hood, we attract so many people that we really like to be around that are not that way, that are not David Hoods.
It's true. And I say that as David Hood. I think you're totally right. And it's one of the great things about the hobby for me. All right. I've got just a couple of minutes left in this segment. I need to ask you another question. I don't want any back channel BS on this one either. How much did the Willamette County Chamber of Commerce pay you to do this show live from this vineyard? How much did you get paid for this?
Wow. Okay. First of all, David, it's Willamette.
Whatever.
That's the first thing that you learn. Like, damn
It's
it.
in Oregon.
It's Willamette. And my roommate does not wish to be recording Backchannel in the room, so I had to go find another place to do it.
That is reasonable. I thank you for being on the show. I'm thankful for you, Ed Sullivan, and I'm thankful for these videos that you did at Weaselmoot. And any final thoughts for the audience?
Well, thank God it's over, but I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. In other countries, we are thankful that you watch the show and play this game and hang out with us occasionally.
It's true. All right. Thanks, Ed.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for you being all watching at home. We hope you have enjoyed this broadcast of Deadline. If you have news, ideas for features, or feedback of any kind, please feel free to send an email to info@diplobn.com, or you can drop me a line directly using davidhood@dixicon.com. To review all of our broadcast offerings, visit our website at www.diplobn.com. This is David Hood signing off. I wish you brightness and bliss, and of course, Belgium.
Thank you.